Hey guys, I'm April from Giggle Glitter Graphics, and today I'm assembling the Gilded Gear Marketplace project kit. This kit explores 3 different shops within a flying steampunk marketplace. Brass and Baubles, a shop of mechanical wonders, Professor Cogsworth Curiosities, which is full of interesting items with scientific and historical value, and Steam and Satin, a clothing shop that blends both fashion and function. This kit also includes a variety of characters who live and trade within the marketplace, and everything fits within the included box. Supplies are simple today. Everything is printed on 110-pound cardstock. Remember that there are notes at the top of every page that indicates what type of paper to print on, as well as if you need to print anything on the reverse side. For glue, I am using Beacon Fabri-Tac and Uhu glue sticks. You can use the glue of your choice, but you will need a liquid glue with a fine tip to apply some items. For distress ink, I am using Vintage Photo. And finally, I have a bone folder and my scissors. If you don't have a bone folder, you can use your thumbnail or the back of your scissors to crease your paper. So we're going to start with Brass and Baubles. This one is pretty easy to print. It has 9 pages, and the only page that has something on the reverse is the one with these 2 panels. You'll need to print Gilded Gear paper 1 on the reverse side, and it's just a leather type of paper. There are lots of little pieces in this folio project, so we're going to start with these 2 kind of hinged pieces with the tabs. You want to make sure you fold the tabs along the line. I like to fold them back and forth a couple of times so they move a little better. And we are also going to grab this wood panel and this panel here with all the drawers and baubles on it. I'm going to just kind of push everything else off to the side for now. And we are going to build the main structure of our folio. So this one has kind of a flip-flop action. We're going to place this one on top so it folds this way. This one will be right underneath and it'll fold that way. So you want to make sure that you have your pieces on the correct side. So I'm just going to kind of flip this over awkwardly. There's no right side up really on this wood panel, and a lot of it gets covered up, so don't worry too much about that. What is most important is making sure that you have this panel on the right, this panel on the left, and the wood panel upside down. These are going to be pretty easy to attach. So once you've got your tabs creased, I'm going to flip it and put some glue on the leather side, right on my tab. Just a nice coating. And then I'm going to attach that to the wood panel. Then you want to do what we always do is check your crease. So give that a little fold over and a press, so that everything is moving nicely, and then double check and make sure that you are lined up top and bottom on this folio. Mine has gotten shifted just a little bit, so I'm going to pull that down, recheck my fold, and make sure that everything is even and level. Now I'm going to repeat that method for the other side. So I'm going to flip this, put my glue on the leather side. Looks like I did not ink the crease here, but there is a crease. It's just a little hard for you to see. I try to ink all of my creases so you can see them better, but I missed that one. And then I'm just going to fold that right over. And again, make sure that everything is moving smoothly. This one is going to be the underneath, and then this one is going to fold over top. And that looks pretty good. So I'm going to flip back to the reverse side and grab my really cool drawers and baubles panel. And we're going to glue that right on top to hide the plain back and hide our tabs. So you could use a glue stick for this. I'm going to stick with my Fabri-Tac since I have that in my hand. And you can feel free to use whatever glue you like and whatever you prefer for different steps of the project. I have a tendency to use this liquid glue because it's one of my favorites. But that doesn't mean it's the only glue. I'm just going to line that up and then give it a little smush. And if you have any white poking out anywhere, you can always hit that with some Vintage Photo Distress ink if you want. Next, I'm going to grab this band for the Brass and Baubles Emporium, and we're going to make this into a belly band on the front panel. So I'm just going to turn this over, and I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the right and left sides. This is where that fine point comes in handy. I'm just going to put glue on about 1/4 of an inch on either side. Just a little bit. I kind of smoosh it out so it doesn't get too oozy whenever I put it on. And then I'm going to center this up as best I can, like so. Now, if you have a little bit of overhang, then you can trim that off. So you have a little bit poking out there. So I'm just going to grab my scissors and trim that off. Next, let's flip to the inside, and we're going to grab the larger pockets from the kit. We've got 2 pockets with gears on them that are a lighter color, and then 2 more leather pockets that will go on either side like so. So I'm just going to grab this left-hand pocket with the gears, and we're going to glue on 3 sides in a thin line. Right on those straight sides, leave the angled side unglued. And then line this up to the bottom and left. You want to make sure that your crease is left free moving. This does have a little extra room, so if you want to nudge that in just a little bit to have a border, that's totally fine. And we're going to repeat that for this leather pocket. Glue those 3 sides. And I'm going to layer that directly on top of the gear pocket. And then let's do that again on the right hand side. So this taller gear pocket, 3 sides. All the way to the bottom, almost all the way to the right hand side. I'm going to leave a little border there and then some nice space in here, and then repeat that for this one. Next, I'm going to grab the 4 pockets that have labels on them. We've got instruments and navigational tools, automatons and mechanicals, puzzles and gadgets, and music and mechanisms. And these are all little tuck pockets, and you can put them kind of anywhere you want. The 2 larger ones go in the middle. The shorter ones layer on top of the leather pockets, the angle pockets. So I'm going to grab automaton and mechanicals. We're going to make sure our text is right side up. Glue 3 sides as thinly as we can. And then I'm going to float this on the pocket. So kind of center it left to right. Leave a little room at the bottom that kind of equals that left to right space, if that makes sense. So it kind of floats in the center. And let's repeat that for instruments and navigational tools. Thin line of glue. Make sure your text is right side up. And then float that pocket right like so. Now we have our 2 tuck pockets for the center, music and mechanisms, puzzles and gadgets. I'm going to start with puzzles and gadgets up here at the top. Text is right side up. I'm going to flip that and glue 3 sides. And the placement for this one is right about where the points of these 2 pockets are. Kind of line up the bottom of this tuck pocket with those 2 points. And you should be in about the right space. You can always grab a little piece of ephemera and see. And I might nudge that down just a little bit to make sure I have plenty of room to put these items in the pockets. And then let's repeat that for music and mechanisms. Just a little bit of glue. Text is right side up, and we're going to line this up at the bottom, like so. Now let's put this to the side so our pockets can dry really well, and I'm going to slide all of this ephemera over. There are a bunch of little cards included in this. A lot of them are doubled up like this. All you have to do, and I'm going to grab my glue stick for that, is fold them in half. You may not be able to see a line on them, but you're just going to fold them right in half if you can't see the line, and get some glue on the inside. Now, if you're being creative or building a journal or doing something different with these, you could print a print on the back and leave them open to be like a little mini card. That would work too if you want to do something clever. But this makes it into a double-sided card with our item and then a description of our item on the back. And if you get a little white like this, you can trim it off with your scissors, or you can hit that with some distress ink and make it disappear. So that is for all of the ones that are doubled up. That includes larger ones like this. Let's see here. I did not do this one yet. So like the knight with the sword, same thing. It's just a little bigger. Get that glue in there and seal it up. And then you can trim if you need to. And then also this kind of little brochure piece. Let's see if I can open this up. So this one is going to go on the front of our folio, and it gives a description of our Brass and Baubles Emporium. And this is going to go on the front inside that belly band that we put on. So again, just glue that. Once you have all of these assembled, you're going to want to take a look at the round and oval pieces. These come in two pieces so that they don't end up with like kind of a flat side. So we've got the music box, the bug, the puzzle box, and a mechanical cat. So you're going to want to make sure that your text is right side up, especially with these round ones. It's easy to get them kind of twisted. So do your best to attach them right side up. And I'm going to use my liquid glue for this so I can slide things around and line them up better. So the mechanical cat, just kind of thin wisps of glue there, and then I'll place the back on that. And all four of these assemble the same way. They have a front and a back, and they should be placed on their pages with the appropriate back, but I'm sure if you get them mixed up, you can probably figure out which one goes with which. Once you have all of these cards glued together, I'm just going to put these off to the side. We are ready to load this thing up. So let's start with the front. So flip flop. We have our little brochure about the Brass and Baubles Emporium. That is just going to slide right in here. And then flipping this open, I'm going to grab the two taller cards. Those are going to go back here. Our larger ovals, the cat and the music box, can go in the next pockets down. And we have a couple of squares with a compass and a mechanical butterfly. And actually, let's flip-flop that. Automatons and mechanicals and compass would go with instruments and navigational tools. It really doesn't matter where you put everything. I'm going to drop the round ones right in here. I do try to make it make sense whenever I put these together, so everything kind of has a place. There we go. So everything should fit inside. If you find that things are sticking up too much, you can always put your scissors down in this little pocket and try to make a little more room there so that they don't come up above. And if they do come up above a little bit, that's okay. It's just going to have some extra personality. So everything should fold up nice and neat. And I'm going to give all of these a nice little crease. I don't feel like this folio needs a closure. You can add one if you want. You could also add some trim or lace or something like that along this side just to zhuzh it up a little bit. But that is it for the Brass and Baubles Emporium. Next, let's assemble Professor Cogsworth's Curiosities. This is only 4 pages. There are 2 pages, the one with these larger panels on them, that are going to need Gilded Gear Paper 3 printed on the reverse side. I've gone ahead and creased these already. There is one fold on this piece that goes right in between this title panel and the decorative panel. And this one has a little tab at the bottom, which you can see here. Again, I like to fold my tabs back and forth a couple of times to loosen them up. That helps everything move and lay better later on. So I'm going to slide some of these extra ephemera pieces off to the side just a little bit, and let's work with these two panels. I'm going to go ahead and flip this panel around so that the tab is facing in. That way I can connect these two right here along this line. So I'm just going to grab my glue and place it on the brown side of the tab. This is going to go a little differently than the last one as far as lining it up. But we are going to hide this tab with a pocket. Make sure you get glue all the way up to the top edge of this, or else your items might catch a little trying to put them into the pocket. And then line up the top and bottom here, place the tab on, fold it up, and then give this a nudge so that you're flat all the way across the bottom. And then check those sides. Make sure that we're not kind of cattywampus as we get part way up. But you should have something that looks like this. Next, we are going to place this decorative piece right at the top. It should fit very nicely. If you cut by hand and it's a little bit off, don't worry about it. Glue it on and then use distress ink or trim to neaten up your edges. Now, this is going to be a pocket. So I would recommend just gluing around the edges, even for the little triangle. That way you don't accidentally glue things shut. If you want, you could put a little extra kind of swirl of glue right there to firm things up, but we want to make sure we have lots of space inside this pocket. And I'm just going to place this down and then get it lined up nicely. And again, if something isn't lining up correctly, just grab your scissors and trim it, or hide it with distress ink. Distress ink hides quite a bit of flaws. Next, I'm going to grab my 4 labeled pockets. We've got mysterious, inventive, historical, and intriguing. And these are going to run up the inside of our kind of flip folio so that we can put our items in. So I'm going to start with mysterious all the way down at the bottom. Make sure our text is right side up. We're going to glue on 3 sides, and this one is going to line up all the way to the bottom. You can leave just a little tiny bit of room if you want, but it should go pretty much to the bottom. Next, we're going to put in inventive, and I recommend putting this about 1/4 of an inch above mysterious. That way, when you put one of these square cards inside, it's not encroaching on your hinge up here. And we're going to do the same thing at the top with the other 2 pockets. You want to make sure there's plenty of room up here to put your card inside. So about 1/4 of an inch between the 2. Make sure your text is right side up. Glue on 3 sides. And then I'm going to place that right about there. Now sliding up, we're going to cover this tab up with the historical pocket. So again, text right side up, glue on 3 sides. We're going to place this pocket, and then we're going to check our fold, because if this is too far down in, it's not going to allow our little folio to fold properly. So I'm going to kind of nudge it down so it's kind of so that it is as low as possible, and then fold up and give that a press, and it should kind of move it into place. And then let's grab intriguing, and again, about 1/4 of an inch above. Text is right side up, glue on 3 sides, and 1/4 of an inch above historical. Now the order of these pockets really doesn't matter, and the ephemera that goes in them doesn't really matter. So feel free to mix these up any way that you like. Now that our pockets are in, let's talk about the ephemera. Let's slide this to the side and let it dry. So we've got a bunch of these cards, and I've pre-glued some of them already. So we have one that shows the shop, And I'm left this open so you could see when you print on the other side. These are very pretty when you open them up if you want to use them as a little card. And we have the description of our shop on the back. I'm going to leave this one as is. I'm not going to glue it shut. You can glue yours shut though if you want to. For the rest of these, you're going to go ahead and glue them shut or leave them open if you want. A couple will have some print on them already because of the pages that they were on. You can print the backs of all the pages if you want to leave them all open if you like. And then I'm putting these little labels on. The label doesn't necessarily match with a specific one, so you can just randomize them, totally fine. So what that'll look like is, and I'll just go ahead and glue this one with my glue stick, just like we did on the previous folio. You're going to see a lot of this. It's the easiest way to get double-sided print with interesting things on either side. And then I'm going to grab my liquid glue and put just a little line like that of glue and put my item number on, which I thought was a cute little touch. So once you get all of your cards glued shut or left open, your choice, and your little labels on, we're going to come back over here and place all the ephemera inside. So this little shop card is going to slide up into our tiny pocket up at the top, just like so. And then we're going to grab one rectangle and two squares. It doesn't matter which ones. One square goes in this top pocket. Then we're going to grab a taller rectangle, place that, and then another square, and that will layer up our cards really nicely to make a display. And then repeat that down here. We've got a square, rectangle, square. Then the bottom flips up, the top flips down. And if you find on this one that it doesn't want to stay shut, even after you give it a little crease, you can punch a hole in here and add some ribbon to tie it shut, or you can use a Velcro dot to keep that shut. And I have one of those right here. They come white on one side, clear on the other. I'm going to put the white on this side. And I use these a lot on my channel, so if you follow me, you'll have seen these before. And they just kind of stick on. I'll make sure there's a supply list in the description down below, but that way it holds it shut nicely. But if you don't have those, there are other ways to hold this shut. And that is it for Professor Cogsworth's Curiosities. Now let's assemble Steam and Satin, our clothing store. This folio has 4 pages. There are 3 pages that need Gilded Gear paper 2 printed onto the back side. So be sure to check the instructions on each page so you know which 3 need this print. The one that doesn't has all these little description cards on it, so to help you pick that out a little easier. So the first thing we are going to do is grab our little straps here, and I want to glue these back to back. You can use whatever glue you want. I'm going to use my Fabri-Tac, and we just want to glue these together so they can dry while we're working on everything else. I don't like to mess with these too much while they're still wet. So just place them back to back like so. So we have a double-sided strap. And I'm going to put that to the side along with these little loops as well. Next, let's grab the 2 large panels. This longer one needs to be folded right here in between the Steam and Satin logo and the clothing rack. So that's going to fold there. And this one is going to fold right at this brown decorative area where the kind of lacy gold is. So just fold that like so. And we're going to glue these 2 together. So I'm going to put them so this is the little lace panel. So we've got them situated this way with the one with the little lace, and the shop front is on the right, and the Steam and Satin logo is on the left. And I am going to put some glue right here on the back of the lacy area, that little strip. Put glue across that whole tab. Then where the clothing rack is, I'm going to lay that right on top of the tab, and then fold over, press down, and then make sure it's lined up top to bottom. so that we have a piece that opens and closes like this. And here is the back side. And then let's go ahead and open this all the way up. We've got a fun pocket for the right hand panel where fashion meets function. This is going to be placed approximately like this on this page. So it's going to center up left to right on the panel and then leave a little room at the bottom just for visual interest. Make sure your text is the correct side up. And run your glue around 3 edges and get that pocket in place. That way this can dry while we're working on our kind of flip through waterfall area. Now let's shift over to the center. And there are 5 of these little panels with clothing on them. I wanted kind of like a clothing rack you could flip through. The order of these does not matter. They are printed on the back side, and each one of them has this little decorative strip, and you'll need to fold this over so that you have a tab on each one. Fold it back and forth because this is going to be kind of a waterfall flip situation. So get all of these folded, and then just to get your placement kind of figured out, I like to line these up tab to tab to tab, if that makes sense. Right like so. And you can see how they're going to fill this space up. And I'm just going to move this over a bit. So now we've kind of laid it out and we can see how it's going to center up on this panel. So I've layered them up into kind of a waterfall effect, and I want to find the center so that I can hold down this one on the left and remove the other 4. And this is the placement for this first panel. I'm just going to flip this little tab over and trying not to move it too much. And we can check our positioning again really quickly after this is down. That's what's nice about the liquid glue. So I do recommend liquid glue for this. It's easier to reposition your elements. And we want to make sure this is straight. So try to get parallel top and bottom, centered top to bottom, and then leave, I don't know, about 1/4 of an inch there on the left-hand side between this flap and this band. And then I'm just going to grab these again and see, and that fit pretty well. I could maybe slide just a touch to the right, but that's looking pretty good. Now I recommend letting this first one dry pretty well before trying to put the rest in, or else it could slide around. So just make sure your glue has set up before moving on to the next step. And once your glue is dry, we're going to grab the next one. And I'm just going to pop that in here. Now you might notice that I've got kind of, my edges aren't all the same. I am just now noticing that. Your copy, these will be consistent. They should all be this kind of gear lace material and not this one. So don't be thrown off if your edges don't look like my edges. That was my mistake on my copy, and I wasn't going to reprint them all for the video just because of one little detail. So yours are going to look a little different than mine. So let's get some glue on the next tab, just on the tab area. And then I'm just going to, don't butt it all the way up, but go next to it. You want to make sure that everything has room to move and breathe so that you can create this kind of cascading effect. And again, you might like to let your glue set up just a little bit before placing the next one. And we're going to repeat that for all of these. Again, order does not matter, so you can arrange your clothing in your shop however you like. Grab the next one. Gently lift it up and slide it in. And one more. Right on that tab. And right into place. I'm just going to lay that down and make sure I haven't kind of drunkenly angled down this way or anything like that. Everything's centered up pretty well, and I am happy with the layout. So let's let that dry really well. and I'm going to grab this Steam and Satin Boutique description card, and we're just going to glue that in right here on this smaller left-hand panel. You can use glue stick if you want. I just happen to have this glue in my hand. And center that right up. All right, so now we still have the backs of all of these to decorate. We have 5 different little scenes described from inside of the shop. Again, order does not matter on these. They can go on any of these. And we're just going to glue one on the back of each of these little clothing panels. And we'll just center them right up, like so. And this is giving us a little bit of a tour of the shop. There's number 2. You want to make sure that everything is dry before you do this, or else you might end up having some of your panels try to slide around. Mine seems to be glued in place pretty well. That's why I like the Fabri-Tac. It feels like it glues pretty quickly, but still gives me that working time. All right. There are those, and let's slide back over. There are 5 little cards, and we're just gonna kind of stuff this full. All kinds of little goodies to go in here, like this. And this is going to flip this way and this way, and I do recommend putting everything in before moving on to the next part so that you can get the placement right, accounting for that little bit of thickness for our strap. So I'm going to go ahead and grab the strap, and we're going to glue this strap on. It doesn't matter which side is the top, they're identical on both sides. We're going to glue it. There's these little rivets. You can see them. There we go. I'm going to glue that right in the center. So give that a little kind of swirl of glue there on the rivets on one side. And I'm going to center this up like so on this small panel. Let's make sure that's on there straight. And then I'm going to grab 2 of these. Make sure the embellishment is right side up. And I'm just going to place it like this. And this is going to help keep this shut. So right on the top and the bottom, again, where those rivets are, I'm going to get a little bit of glue. Make sure you don't get glue in the middle and accidentally glue the whole thing shut. And I'm going to place that right there. And then repeat that for the second one. And this is going to give us a little buckle to hold this shut. Right like that. Let's make sure that they're even and straight. And then that will allow this piece to slide in and out of there, but you're going to want to wait until this is all dry to try and do that. Let's see here. Sketch it out. Let's let everything dry, and I will be back in a second. All right, so my glue has set up, and now I'm able to slide this under. The first time you do it, it might need a little coaxing. So I'm actually going to take my scissors and poke under this to kind of raise them up, just to make a little room, kind of train it to arch just a little bit. And then that way, when I come back in with my strap, I can slide that right under. So it is just a little fiddly, but it's also very cool. So, and I know how much you guys all like these kind of buckles and straps and things like that I've been putting together for you. So here you go. Have a buckle. We've got some more buckles, but Steam and Satin needed a buckle. So now we have everything put together. Again, remember, this is the correct border, so don't be alarmed if that is different. And that is it for Steam and Satin. our marketplace would feel awful empty if we didn't have people to fill it. So I have provided 6 pages of portrait cards. There are 4 portrait cards per page, and I have a large variety for you to choose from. I've also put together some background stories. So you have a name and some facts about each person. There are 20 of these different background stories, as well as 1 page of 4 fill in the blank backgrounds, and then 1 page of 4 totally blank cards. So you can write whatever you want on there. I've also created this fun holder. There are 3 different ones, and we're going to put these together in a minute. But there are 3 holders so that you can put your cards inside the holder, and another one of those fun little straps. So first, I want to talk about the portrait cards. You can optionally print the backs of these. I did print the back of all of mine. And the reason I did that is so that you would have these interesting prints that would peek through whenever you glue these background stories on the back side. Now, you can leave them blank if you want, but I prefer this little texture. So you can put on one of those, you can put on one of the fill in the blanks, or you can put on a blank one and use it as a journaling card, or still write about your character on the other side. So let me shuffle these out of the way and we will talk about the holders. So there are 3 different kinds of straps that come with this, and they are quite long. One with gears, one with lace, and then one with this kind of deco design. And I'm going to go ahead and glue these straps back to back so that we have them finished on both sides. I do like to use my Fabri-Tac for this so I can slide them into place. I like to put distress ink on before I glue them together, and then I touch up if I need to with a little more ink after they're dry. Now, if you want to mix and match these, you can. They are the same size and shape. So if you want them to be different on opposite sides, by all means, make them different on opposite sides. So I will get these put together and then they can dry while we're going over the envelope portion. And you want to make sure you glue these really well. And you want them to be really dry before you try to fold them or anything like that, because they can kind of shift and slide a little if they're not dry. So put my straps off to the side. Now we have 3 different envelopes for you to pick from. You'll probably need all of them if you use all of the cards. You might need more of them. It's up to you. Depends on how you want to organize the people of the marketplace. And each one comes with 3 of these little straps, these little loops, just like we used on Steam and Satin. And they are on the same page. So very simple. We're going to fold these 2 tabs in and then fold over. So I think the best way to do it is to fold this tab over, fold over and meet the edge. Make sure you're lined up at the top and along the side. Get that nice and neat. And then I like this folded up so that you have another detail at the bottom. So it adds another level of interest. You can see I did use distress ink on the inside here so that inside of that cutout looks finished. That way, instead of printing the whole back and using all the ink for things that you're not really going to see, but you could print the back side if you want, but instead of doing that, I just buffed some distress ink on there, that vintage photo, and I'm really happy with that. So fold over this tab. We're going to glue it like so. Press this into place, and then I'm just going to fold up this bottom tab. There we go. So that I have a little pocket like this. And I've already put this one together with the gears. Now you can choose which strap you want to go with which item. I actually like the gears with this print. And then let's mix this up over here with that little bit of a lace pattern. And then I had paired that deco pattern with the blue one. So to apply these straps, you're going to line it up all the way at the bottom. You can leave like a little gap there and right in the center of the pocket. So we've got the cutout on the opposite side. And I am just going to place some glue right down the middle. And glue the strap in place for both of these. And then you want to let this dry really well before moving on to the next step. Back to our example, I've put 2 of those loops on this side and then 1 on the other. So I'm going to go ahead and do that next. You can actually glue these down all the way. I'm just going to glue both sides, but I don't know why, just because. And placement doesn't matter too much, just whatever looks good to you. If you want them to all be exactly the same, then I would do 1 and then put them next to each other so you can kind of eyeball it. There is no difference between all of these little loops. And I would try to make sure at least the 2 that are together on the same side are pointed in the same direction. There we go. Grab 2 more and put these in place. Now I have these on and I have let all of my glue dry really well. I'm going to fold this over at the top. It might be a little resistant because it is so thick. So just coax it into doing what you want. And I'm going to give that a press. Right like so. You can always adjust your crease just a little bit. If you haven't gotten your strap completely straight, you have a little wiggle room on that crease so that your strap goes down the middle. So if you find things just aren't quite right, there's a little adjustment there that you can make. And I'm going to flip this back over this way, and we're going to do the same thing. We'll use this one as a guide and place these about like so. So you've got this curved part of the strap, and this is going to go right above that. So I'm going to flip these up. Definitely want to stick to the ends, just the very ends. You can even give this a little curve with your thumb. That'll make it a little easier to slide your buckle in later. And then I'm going to line up and place mine in line with my last one. It's pretty much in the middle between the bottom of this notch and the top of this flap. It's about in the middle. And then flip this down, and if you feel like it's a little off, shift it to the side just a touch so that your buckle is going to go right into the middle. Your strap will go right in the middle. And then let's repeat that for this one. Glue the ends, give it a little curve with your thumb. Oh, that's too much glue. Get some of that off of there. And then find that kind of center space. We can make them all fairly consistent and then fold over and see where that's landing compared to your strap. And that looks pretty good. And I'm going to let these dry really well. You can go through and pick out the characters that you like. You can use all of these if you want. There are 20 different backstories. There are a few extra cards, 4 more cards than there are backstories, but you should be able to kind of match up whichever ones you want with pictures of your choosing and glue those directly onto the back. And then once you have yours selected and glued together, and these are all dry, you can then pop your photos right into the holder. And that is everything for the portrait cards and the portrait card pockets. Well, we're getting close to the end of our project, and now all we need is a box to keep everything in. So everything is labeled for the box, either box lid or box bottom, and I've got everything separated that way. For the box lid, we've got the Gilded Gear Marketplace. We've got a brochure with some extra panels to go inside, a strap, and this map piece, as well as all of these darker, skinnier pieces. And I'm just going to put these off to the side. And let's start with the bottom, which is the clockwork gears. There's 4 of these panels, 2 long and 2 short. as well as a map piece and a gear piece. I'm going to put the gear piece just to the side here and start with the map piece, and then we want to look for our sides. So box bottom, short side panel, bottom side, so that would be the side that is towards you. Top side, that is the side that is away from you. And then we've got left and right sides. So get everything laid out. It's a little hard for you to see, but I have everything laid out here according to where it's going to go. And move my map for a second. Let's talk about the short panels. The short panels have two small tabs that need to be folded in. It also has a line here that's going to fold in, and then there's a line here, not this line here, but a line here at the bottom of the tabs that you're going to fold in. This is just to extend the print, so when we put the bottom on the box, the bottom on the bottom of the box, there is something filled in there and you don't end up with white paper. So fold both the top and bottom short sides, and then grab your glue, any glue, and we want to glue down the rectangular piece. So I'm just going to fill this middle panel, and then this solid rectangle is going to get glued down. And then checking our fold, mine is a little tight. So I'm just going to kind of sketch that up just a little bit and adjust, force things to go where they're supposed to go. So you're going to have something that looks like this, and let's repeat that for the other short side. So glue in the middle, not on the little tabs on the side, just in the middle. That full clockwork panel folded down so that you have something that looks like this. And we're going to return our top to the top. Make sure I didn't get some glue all over the place there. Top to the top, bottom to the bottom. And we have our two sides where they belong. So I'm going to position these so that these white tabs are here in the middle. Let's bring back the map piece. This can go in any direction. It does not matter which direction this goes in. And we're going to start gluing these angled tabs underneath of this panel. So it doesn't matter which one you start with. Let's do the long sides first. And you can see, here we go. I've got this tab with the angled sides, and I'm going to glue all along this tab really well. Then I'm going to grab this panel, place it in, and then I want to fold this over. This is going to stand upright, so it doesn't have to be a perfect all the way over fold, but it needs to be able to stand up along that crease. So push this in all the way, and you'll have it, it should look like this on the back. There we go, so you can see all of it. Let's repeat that for the other long side. Glue all on that tab. I'm going to turn it. There's my tab. Place this just like we did the first one. Make sure this can stand up and fold over a little bit. Nice and tight. And then flip this over. And just make sure everything is nice and even, that nothing is hanging out over the edges here. There we go. So, and then let's make sure we've got everything. There's our right, there's our left. Now let's put on our top and bottom. Same way, we're going to glue those tabs underneath. Now if you mix these pieces up, it really doesn't matter. They should all still work. I just have them labeled so they're easier to keep track of. So I'm going to place this one right under here. And you can see I've got a little white poking out there. It's not going to be as obvious when this is put together, but you could put some distress ink in these areas to hide that better. I should have mentioned that sooner. I'll try to, hopefully I popped a note up earlier so that you could see that. I'll do it on the next one, on the lid. Here is my last short side. Pop that under. Make sure everything's lining up like so. It's not too bad. Once everything is put together, you're not going to notice those little slight white gaps as much, but I do like to be a perfectionist. Here's the back side. That's what that looks like. Now we're going to stand these up and fold our tabs so that they're going to come in at 90-degree angles. Pick a side, doesn't matter which long side, just pick one. And we're going to glue whole panel. I've got a fold going right down here. And then make sure you glue up both sides. So we're getting glue on both sides of the tab. So glue this whole panel and then glue up the sides of this other panel. Stand up your short sides, fold this up, kind of square it all up, and then fold over and inside. And then squeeze, squeeze, squeeze it all together. And then you want to kind of go in and see where I didn't get that corner very tight. I'm going to press that in. Same on this side. Press it in, give it a really good pinch. There we go. And I'm going to repeat that for this second side. So glue, glue, glue all on this panel. And then up both sides. Push your tabs in, stand it up, flip it in, push those corners in nice and tight before you pinch it to try to get everything squared up really nicely. And then press it all down. So now the bottom of our box is built. We just need to add the panel onto the back. So it does not matter which direction this goes in. It's just going to glue right over the bottom. So I'm going to edge this in glue just to make sure that we've got adhesive all the way to the edges. And then give it a good scribble on the inside. You could use a glue stick, but I like being able to reposition a little bit and make sure that I have it on there straight. Glue stick doesn't really want to let me slide things around too much, so. And then I'll use my bone folder and kind of smush that glue out a bit. And then make sure everything is straight. And there is the bottom of my box. So let's get this out of the way and swap to the lid. And this is going to be the exact same process. Now remember, if you want, you can grab distress ink and put in on these creases just to kind of hide the white. It's going to give you a nicer finish. We also have another map piece. Put this brochure out of the way, and then our lid piece. So we're going to start with the map and all of our sides. So we've got, again, short bottom, short top, long left, long right. Move this out of the way. Same exact thing, tabs get folded in. We're going to fold in along this line. The lines are kind of lighter instead of darker because this is so very dark, and then my distress ink covered up those light lines. So you can see where the line goes from the corner of each tab to the corner of each tab. So if you're having trouble seeing those lines, know that your creases will flank those tabs. And again, this goes over. Don't fold along here. Fold on the line up here at the bottom of the tabs. And we're going to go ahead and glue down this dark panel. And you would put your distress ink on before you do this process. So there's that, and we're going to fold this up. Same thing on this one. Dark panel the rivets. We're going to glue that down. And then let's grab our map piece and start gluing these tabs on, just like we did before. So here we go. Got our tab. Glue on that, and using the map piece, I'm going to place this on like so. I'm going to fold this over and then line it up side to side. We want to make sure our left and right is lined up really well. These boxes, the squarer you get it, the better it fits. There we go. Put on the right side. Go. This one, line it up left to right, stand up, check all our creases. There we go. And then let's do the top and the bottom. Oops, kind of off on that one. Line it up, left and right. There we go. So I'm just trying to line up there. Press that down. And same thing for the last one. So just like our box bottom, it's just sized slightly differently. And fold it over. And now same thing. Glue here along this panel. Glue the sides of the panel next to it. Push the tabs in. Stand that up and wrap right over the top. And then make sure you've got these corners in nice and tight. Nice 90-degree angles. And then same thing on the opposite side. There we go. Right on the panel, ends, tabs in, fold up and over. Push in the corners, pinch, pinch, and make sure it's all nice and tight. And I'm going to grab my bone folder and just give all of these edges on both the top and bottom a nice crease, just to make sure it's all sharp and nice and neat and everything is sitting in place nicely. And then let's flip over. And we have our top panel, the Gilded Gear Marketplace. And I'm just going to do like I did for the bottom of the box and glue around the edges and in the middle. And we'll pop that on, kind of slide it around a little. There we go. That looks pretty good. Now I'm going to flip this over and grab this band. If you want it to be facing a certain direction, then make sure that the words are facing you. Flip it. And then this is going to go in here, and we're just going to glue on the ends with the rivets. So about 1/4 of an inch on each side. And then try to go in about the middle of the lid. Right about there. And put this to the side to dry. Next, let's go ahead and grab this little brochure. You can see we got our Sky Marketplace here on one side and a row of shops on the other. I'm going to flip this so that the Sky Marketplace is here on the left and the row of shops is on the right. And we have these two panels here that are going to go in the inside, and it is describing the Gilded Gear Marketplace. The one on the left is the one that starts with the word suspended. The one on the right starts with the word high, which I kind of laughed and I was, I was like, well, those aren't, they're different, but they're not very different. So, and I am just going to glue these in. Let's grab the glue stick. We haven't used the glue stick for a bit. And I'm just going to glue these right inside on the center. Now the panel with this does have a print on the other side. It should have that noted. I think I missed noting that at the beginning of this segment. I probably put a pop-up on the video, but you can see that this is printed on the other side. And I do note that on all of the pages. So always keep an eye out for those notes. Even if I forget to mention them in the tutorials, they still apply. Usually I notice though, if I make a mistake. And there we go, right like that. So now we have a brochure piece describing our marketplace, and then this is going to slide. Make sure that this is dry first, but this is going to slide right here inside of the lid piece, like so. And then moment of truth, pop that lid onto the bottom. Come on, you can do it. There we go. And here is our box. So now I can open this up and all of our projects. Got our character cards. Put those in. We've got Brass and Baubles, Professor Cogsworth's Curiosities, and Steam and Satin, who I never did buckle back up. There we go. All in the box, and you can see there is extra room in here. I left room intentionally. I have a lot of other steampunk stuff, and I thought you might like to have room to put other projects in here or other things that you might like to add. Plus, if you decide to put backs on all of these cards, they could grow, they could get quite a bit thicker, so I wanted to leave room to expand that. None of my cards, all of my cards are in here, all my portrait cards, but they are in these 3 envelopes, 8 to an envelope, but they don't have backs on them, so they will get a lot thicker. They'll be twice as thick with backs on all of them. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this project. The Gilded Gear Marketplace was such a fun project kit to make. You guys told me how much you like buckles and straps, how much you like boxes. So here we are, buckles, straps, and boxes. I can't promise we're going to do that every time. Boxes, probably. I love the idea of putting everything into a box. So you'll probably see a lot more boxes from me, but I don't know if everything needs a buckle or a strap. Well, maybe it does. I don't know. So, but thank you so much for watching. Please like, subscribe, and hopefully I will see you in the next video.